look, for what it's worth, the situation is becoming more and more clear now that Newcastle are going to sell. You know, they're not going to include Alexander Isak in their couple of pre-season friendlies that they have coming up this weekend. They might have some joy in their pursuit of Johan Vissa as well, as that looks to be gathering a bit of momentum. There was a scare earlier on today as, well, Newcastle and Liverpool fans thought that perhaps Bayern Munich were going to make a play for Nicholas Jackson, but Plettenberg has looked to, well, dull that down a little bit, so I'll take you through what he said. Breaking news, Andy Carroll rejects Newcastle. He's actually at Dagenham and Redbridge or somewhere, if my memory's not mistaken, Manny. I'm sure he went there, and I think he's got an ownership stake or something in it as well. Maybe somebody in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but to the best of my recollection, sir, I think he's genuinely playing for Dagenham and Redbridge. This from Paul Joyce speaking with Off the Ball, who are a group of lads over here in Ireland who are brilliant, by the way. If you don't know about Off the Ball, they're brilliant. Speaking about Liverpool and Isak, he said, Liverpool will spend the money. There was talk of £150 million for Isak. That was always Newcastle's valuation. I don't think Liverpool will go that high personally. I don't think they would see that as good value. And I don't blame them, because I don't see it as good value. Next up, Ben Jacobs said, Newcastle's failure to sign Benjamin Sesko does not affect the Alexander Isak situation. Newcastle have other attackers in mind. Newcastle's feeling remains that Isak must be sold or extend with no middle ground. Isak has to date showing no willingness to extend. Liverpool are ready to bid again. Next up, we've got Transfer Sector, quoting Craig Hope, to say Chelsea will deal at £60 million with Newcastle for Nicholas Jackson. There's a relationship between Chelsea and Newcastle via the Saudi connections, and informal talks have already taken place over the striker's availability and his situation. Some among the hierarchy are keen, given his experience and age. However, I'm told that others will be pursued first. So he is an option there for Newcastle, but is he going to be the option? Let's wait and see. So the newspaper have said Newcastle are ready to move on to Nicholas Jackson, who they rate at around the £60 million mark. But there would need to be movement from the Blues, who value him closer to 70. Right, this one. So Florian Plettenberg said, exclusive, FC Bayern have made inquiries about Nicholas Jackson in the past few hours. Bayern have gathered information on his current status, price and conditions. Newcastle are seriously interested. It gets funnier though, because just before I went live, Florian Plettenberg tweeted this, and welcome to social media, Florian. He said, since the wildest insults are flying around again, Bayern gathered information about Jackson. Nothing more reported, nothing less. And also, confirmed from other journalists, Bayern are still exploring options on the market. Players are being offered to them. Bayern gathering information doesn't mean they're going to sign him. Focus remains on Voltmada. Other market opportunities are being assessed. Nkunku is off the radar. Herbal is doing his homework. And if after gathering information it turns out that Jackson isn't an option, then that's simply a normal part of the process. Looks like there was a bit of backlash there. And look, you don't want to see anybody getting abuse, but it's been a mad time for Newcastle and their fans in the pursuit of a striker. And I wonder is a big chunk of the abuse he's getting, which again, I absolutely do not condone. Banter is fine, abuse, no. But I wonder is it from frustrated Liverpool fans who were just thinking, could they ever get a signing over the line, please? Can Newcastle please sign somebody? The newspaper said Alexander Isak's camp plan to apply pressure on his situation at Newcastle, which may force the club to buckle as he looks to leave the club and pursue a move to Anfield. So it looks like Isak isn't for changing at this point. And like I've said, Newcastle are now accepting that sale is going to happen when they recruit a forward. Said, did you see the Newcastle fan who lost his mind on TalkSport? What a cruel window this has been to them. Is there any other type of fan that goes on to TalkSport though, to be fair? Like, I've not known a rational conversation to go on that station. So, look, it has been a really tough window for Newcastle fans. But in theory, it's also been a tough window for us because we've had to put up with their stupidity in the market. Well, look, it's not Newcastle fans' fault that their club can't seem to sign anybody. But yeah, I mean, here's what really baffles me about that, right, Nick? They scraped into the Champions League. even though they didn't win on the last day of the season. And, I think it was Aston Villa who shit the bed. So they got in there and they should have been counting their lucky stars and looking to jump on that immediately. But I don't know. Like I've said, it feels like Newcastle's inner workings are being exposed here as being not up to the job. ISAK, if you look at any of the reports around ISAK from Craig Hope or the other journalists, Craig Hope is saying that ISAK's been telling them for a year that he wants out. Even Melissa Reddy's piece yesterday suggested that he informed Newcastle, regardless of when we were coming in, that this summer he was leaving and he wanted out, and Newcastle had plenty of time to sort it out, and they haven't done it. So it's been a bit of a shit show from start to finish. One of the TalkSports commentators said that Newcastle are shopping in M&S rather than Tesco. They need to go for players that they can afford and will go to Newcastle. Whatever has happened, it's tough to see what Newcastle's plan was in this window. It doesn't look like they had a target that they were working on behind the scenes ready to go in the summer. So we knew Liverpool had X, Y, and Z, and we were going to move for them. Kirkes as an example. Newcastle, knowing for a year that ISAK wanted out and still hadn't got somebody ready to go, they lost out on so many targets this summer. The likes of Liam Delap lost him. Obviously, Mbomo, Cunha, gone. Ekitike, bye-bye. And it just continued. Benjamin Sesko. Even losing Benjamin Sesko to an absolute shit show of a United team is, it's just not, it's not a great look, is it? And there's another name that's been added to the mix, by the way, and that's Strand Larsen from Wolves. He said he's higher up on the shortlist than many others, according to Craig Hope of the Mail. So Strand Larsen, another name perhaps there for Newcastle. The Newcastle fans are 100% blaming ISAK and not their owners and management for this fiasco. I get that. Look, like I've said, I'm a card-carrying proud hypocrite when it comes to football. So if I was a Newcastle fan's position, I'd probably be feeling a bit angry about ISAK as well, but I'd also be feeling angry at the board. Especially when you've got journalists who are Newcastle-centric journalists like Craig Hope, who have no need or desire to be complaining about Newcastle behind the scenes. But when he's out there saying that Newcastle have been aware of this situation with ISAK for a very, very long time, it does feel like there is a dereliction of duty there as well. Now, of course, football fans are always going to be angry when a player wants to leave the club. Some go too far with it. Some are a bit more realistic on it. But right now, there is a lot of anger. And I get it from Newcastle fans. I've tried to say this all the way through the window. I understand the pain that they're feeling on it. But again, I think they're not giving themselves enough time. Sell ISAK and get moving. Get moving with your window, because what is there now? 4 weeks? Just under 4 weeks left? I believe ISAK will happen. Also think Gay plus another centre-back and a young winger, said Tommy Angel. Thank you, Tommy. I think ISAK happens as well, Tommy, for what it's worth. I really do. As every day goes on now, it just feels like it's a matter of when and not if with ISAK.